celebration with me, and I apologise in advance for a somewhat gravelly voice. We had a meeting where we passed through our household last week and we're still recuperating. I'm conscious as I stand here with Lightning finally in its beautiful published iteration of the enormous debt of gratitude I owe to many people in this room and to a number who are not able to be present. So I hope you'll indulge me as I offer some words of thanks to the various people who have supported this book to publication and its launch, and who have encouraged me through what at times has felt like the longest gestation in publishing history. Ernest Hemingway famously said, "There is nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed." Perhaps the rejoinder to that is, there is nothing to being a friend of someone who is writing. All you do is stand close by with a packet of Band-Aids, and as you apply them, recall that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. There have been many Band-Aid bearers during the writing of Lightning, too many to name individually, but I'm grateful for every palliative word I received, all the kind and supportive encouragement when perhaps it wasn't even obvious that I was bleeding. But foremost tonight, my heartfelt thanks to the Chief Minister for making time in her extraordinarily busy schedule to launch Lightning and to speak with such warmth about my novel. I'm also indebted to the ACT government broadly for its assistance through the Arts ACT grant program. In 2009, as the Chief Minister has noted, I was fortunate to be the recipient of a grant. The grant enabled me to undertake a road trip through to Central Australia, which tracked the journey of my protagonist, Persia and Ami, and which frames the contemporary narrative in Lightning. That research proved crucial in shaping my novel and establishing layers and themes that would otherwise be absent. Importantly too, the confidence expressed in Lightning by the ACT government through the grant opened other doors for me, certainly making the manuscript a more compelling prospect to both my agent and my publisher. So my profound thanks, Chief Minister, to you and to the ACT government. The award of a residential writing fellowship at Verona, the Writers' House in the Blue Mountains, was also a godsend. It provided me with both a quiet place for intensive writing and access to a nurturing community of writers, some of whom are present tonight. I particularly wish to acknowledge the support of Peter Bishop, formerly Creative Director of Verona. He, along with George Lane, my Wisconsin-based BFF and writing buddy, were chief amongst my Band-Aid bearers. And this evening I'm especially grateful to the National Library of Australia, to the Director General of the Library for welcoming us all here, and to Maureen Brooks and her team, who in a very busy period have graciously managed all of the arrangements for this launch, including accommodating a heartwarmingly large turnout of friends, well-wishers and campus reading community. I was keen to launch Lightning at the National Library because a significant proportion of my book was written and edited here in the main reading room, as I sought refuge in the communal creative energy which is the spirit of this building, escaping from the sometimes oppressive isolation of working at home. For as Ernest Hemingway also said, writing at its best is a lonely life. Tonight, therefore, is a closing of the circle in this place, and I'm delighted to be in such good company inside the circle. Among this gathering, I would like to acknowledge my dear friend Denise Bruce-Hubbard. I'm not sure where she's standing, but she's come all the way from Alice Springs for the launch, and she accompanied me on my research trip to Central Australia in 2009, a trip which I now fondly regard as the Thelma and Louise road trip. David Freeman has flown in from Brisbane, thanks Mr. Squiggle, and I think the Jenkinson family might also be here from Sydney. Serendipity has prevailed to enable Christine Stevens to join the launch en route from South Australia to her home in Sydney. Christine's book, Tin Mosques and Barn Towns, A History of Afghan Cameleers in Australia, was an indispensable reference as I wrote Lightning, so thank you Christine and husband Andrew for detouring by Canberra. Lightning contains a list of acknowledgements that is almost a chapter in its own right and probably made the typesetter's eyes roll, but there were a few omissions. Alan Walsh has worked generously and patiently to set up my website, and he and his wife Helen endured my discomfort with the camera to take authored photographs for me, so thank you. I also wish to acknowledge my daytime employer, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and specifically my boss Penny Williams, who unhesitatingly supported arrangements that have enabled me to juggle my DFAT career and my writing life. The experience of working for the department has provided valuable perspectives which pervaded the writing of Lightning, My diplomatic postings in Bangladesh and Laos were a springboard into the exploration of self when far from home, and a useful vantage point from which to view Australia's complex national identity. In fact, the only constraint that may have presented to my writing career is that I was never going to be able to publish a book titled We Need to Talk About Kevin. Or rather, we need to talk about Kevin again. Finally, in this long list of thank yous, my sincere gratitude to my agent Gabby Mayer and the publishing team at Picador, led by Alex Craig, represented tonight by the sales rep Leanne. I'm not sure where she is, sorry. I couldn't have hoped for a more enthusiastic agent or a more supportive publisher. I've been asked during recent media interviews about my book, what was the genesis of Lightning? It's as tough a question as its sister query, what is the novel about? And I thought that Katie summarised it very well. The simple response to the latter question is, of course, if I could describe my novel in a couple of sentences, I wouldn't have had to write a novel. And then the necessary follow-on. At one level, Lightning is the tale of two people, Persia, a grieving mother, and Ahmed, a refugee fleeing his past in Pakistan, both of whom have suffered extraordinary losses and who discover in each other the healing of shared tenderness. More broadly, the book is an odyssey across continents and centuries that explores grief, identity and connection. It's a road trip novel, a love story of sorts, a meditation on finding hope in the rubble of our lives. It's a story about the importance of names and being named, about names shaping our destiny and anchoring us. It's a depiction of the challenge of travelling, of our journeys through dry and unforgiving landscapes, but it's also a reminder of the possibility of rebirth and regeneration even in these most arid places of our living. It's a salute to the restorative properties of imagination and a reminder that, like Scheherazade and her Arabian Nights tales, it is our stories and their telling that keep us alive. Certainly that was my experience during the writing when multiple griefs inhabited my own life, including the unexpected death of my father-in-law, to whom the novel's dedicated. But where did Lightning come from? I have no answer for that one. Writing it was like buying one of those packets of flower seeds titled Accent on Blue or Accent on Yellow from the Yates stand in the garden centre. You open the sleeve and cast the seeds on the soil, not knowing what specifically you're planting, but trusting that the palette of what will sprout and eventually blossom, given sufficient, but trusting in the palette of what will sprout, given sufficient light, water, warmth, and in my case, a lot of time. One of those seeds was sown on January the 18th, 2003, from our family home in the heights of Canberra at that time, with a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old at my feet, and with their father on the roof filling gutters with water. I watched fire sweep across the Brindabellas and the sky darken as if it was night. Some years later, that seed, those fires became the starting point for Lightning. And a neat 10 years down the track from 2003, it's somewhat surreal, though in the loveliest of ways, to be here celebrating so publicly the arrival of my third baby, in many respects a much more difficult birth than the first two, which delivered me my darling daughters Bella and Poppy. I can't describe how fulfilling it is to get to this point and to be able to share it with friends. So once again, thank you all for joining my christening party. I've spoken for far too long, and it's time to let Lightning speak for itself. I was going to read a couple of passages just to introduce you to Persia and Ahmed, but I think time's tight, so I might just read the first passage, which is a brief reference to Persia's name in the story. Persia knew well the story of her own naming, though she sometimes wondered how true it was, carried across time in the unreliable hands of memory and occasionally willful forgetting. Her mother, Carolina, had wanted to call her baby Scheherazade. She had known her child was going to be a girl because midway through her pregnancy, a friend had pulled out one of Carolina's estrogen-enhanced hairs, long and dark as her daughter's too would become. The friend tied this to Carolina's engagement ring and hung it over her belly. It swung from side to side rather than in a circular motion. Ergo, the baby was a girl. The ritual being one of the very few times when the female of the species was linear, the male circular. Carolina began announcing her naming intentions in the months before her daughter was born. She did this with self-conscious defiance. Her cheeks were pink from it, her shoulders hunched against anticipated ridicule when she used her baby's proposed name. Her close friend said, 1001 Nights, she'll be a storyteller. She would stand with straighter back then and say, please, yes, be a Sherrod. Carolina's mother dismissed her daughter summarily. "Was für ein Unsinn! What nonsense! You can't do that to a child. She will never learn to spell it and she'll never forgive you." As though there wasn't going to be a long list of recriminations for Carolina's daughter to choose from anyway. From the date of their baby's arrival, Carolina and her husband Mario had 42 days to choose a name for her. Registry of Birth Regulations. On the 41st day they were still undecided, so they wrote the 5 contenders on scraps of paper and put them in a spaghetti pot, the generous aluminium cooker which nourished their early coupledom. Scheherazade, Anushka, Cecilia, Maria and Annika. Carolina reached into the pot and pulled out a folded chit. Scheherazade. "Oh, Cora, try again," her husband said, "just to be sure." She dropped the paper back in, stirred the pot and chose again. Scheherazade. "I'll do it one more time," she said, "so there can be no doubt." One more time she drew Scheherazade. Mario put his hand in. Scheherazade. After they had chosen the same name 17 times, Mario took out the pieces of paper and filled the pot with water. He put it on the stove and cooked a dinner of rigatoni with cherry tomatoes, basil, olives and just enough chilli to please Carolina's palate without distressing her nursing daughters. They finished with a glass of schnapps to celebrate their decision. It was still some years before the couple was more inclined to open bottles for the anaesthetic properties of their contents. On day 42, Carolina walked her baby down to the registrar's office. The clerk, a severe woman with a sphincter mouth, took the form from Carolina. She looked into the pram where the child was sleeping and said, "Persia, Persia," as if chewing something unfamiliar, resistant and not altogether pleasing. "I haven't heard that one before. You know they'll tease her at school. Are you sure you've given it enough thought?" "The date," Carolina said dryly. "Look at the date." "You still have until 5 o'clock, the clerk offered. "Do you like Scheherazade better?" Carolina inquired. The woman took Carolina's money and stamped the form. Persia regarded the story of her naming as both Genesis and Revelation, but its moral was hard to identify. Perhaps it warned that no one liked to be told what to do, not even by a spaghetti pot. Humans were perverse creatures, only discovering what they truly wanted when given the freedom to fulfill their apparent desires.